Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Keep Running with BK. And in this end of month review for May, I'm going to take a look back on some of the training adjustments I talked about in my end of month review for April that I was going to make this month, and ask the question, are they working? Am I seeing the type of results that I was hoping to get from them? And if so, great. If not, what kind of adjustments do I need to make going forward? So if you're interested in hearing more about that, we'll be right back right after this. So in my last end of month review for the month of April 2021, I had talked about how I was just finishing up my 3-month training block for 80/20 training from the spring, and I had just finished doing a 10K and a half marathon time trial, and that I was going to be making some changes going into the summer months, where I was going to return back to 100% MAF training during the heat and humid months of the summer in preparation for an ultramarathon. And I had a primary goal of gradually and safely increasing my mileage, as well as increasing the frequency of how often I would run. And I'm happy to report that so far that has gone actually really well. Just to cover the month training in a nutshell, I ran 24 times for 162 miles, which is the most miles in a month since August of last year, when I did 170. Which was my highest monthly for the entire year last year, and probably the highest month in the past decade. So I'm really happy about that. I still have a ways to go. One of the things I talked about was wanting to add another day of the week, so I would be running 6 days a week so that I can get additional volume in there. One of the things that I'm learning, and something I've never really had the luxury of doing in years past, but now that I'm an empty nester and I have a little bit more flexibility with some of my time, one of the things that I'm attempting to do is to see, can I increase my weekly mileage and run 6 days a week? And 24 times this past month, I think I ran 6 times every week except for the first one, where I may have had some scheduled stuff around my birthday that week where I can only get in 5 runs. So very happy with that. My goal was to move from 35 miles a week average to 40 miles a week, and eventually get to about 45 miles a week average sometime this summer. And I ran 40 miles or more the last 3 weeks. This coming week will be my 4th in a row, which is something I don't know that I've ever done before. If I have, it was maybe once. So that's very encouraging. I was looking at the numbers, and I'm at 726 miles to date, which is the fastest start through the first 5 months of the year that I have on record. You've heard me talk in the past where I have a spreadsheet where since 1998 I've recorded all my runs, except for 1 year where I decided I wasn't going to record anything. I wasn't going to look at the watch. I was just going to try to be a free spirit about my running, and didn't record that year. But I can tell you that year I did not put in nearly the kind of mileage that I'm doing now. So I'm off to the best start I've ever had, which is great. From a mileage standpoint, I'm feeling good. The MAF training is going well. I've gotten to the point now, I'm, pretty much all of my runs, for the most part, except when I throw in a little trail here or there, is within that target range, and everything's going well. Some of the things that I tried to introduce this month that I didn't even think about back in April that I wanted to share with you is I've been reading Phil Maffetone's Big Yellow Book, and one of the things that I'm gaining an appreciation, at least on paper and in theory, is an appreciation for a proper warm-up and a proper cool-down. I've never been very good at that. There's a number of things that I'm not very good at. I'm not really good at stretching. I'm not very good at warming up. I'm not very good at cooling down. I'm not very good at staying well hydrated or any of these things. And I'm trying to revisit these topics and just really try to understand a little bit better, maybe gain an appreciation and tried to adopt them into my training. And I can't say that I've been great with the warm-up and cool down, but I have tried to give it some attention, and some days I've done better than others, certainly more consistently than I ever have. The jury's still out what the payoff of that really is. The other thing I've been looking into is hydration. I want to make sure that I incorporate good habits going into the summer with hydration, and I shared in my last video an entire video on hydration, and I'll put a link to that in the upper corner. And if that's a topic of interest to you, especially in these hotter months, I'd really encourage you to check that out. The other thing that I'm trying to do is I return to 100% MAF. You know, one of the things that you're doing that most of your runs are easier, and sometimes that can be a mental challenge. I've talked about that on the challenge on this channel before. But you know, I really haven't had that struggle yet. I'm able to actually run at almost a minute to a minute and a half faster already than where I was almost a year ago. Speaking of which, you have to check out my next end of month review in June, when it will mark 1 year since I discovered MAF and set sail, if you will, on the MAF training, and I'll talk about how that went and what those benefits are. But I'm definitely looking forward to that. But some of the things that, you know, I'm trying to do differently this time with MAF, although I'm keeping it 100% MAF training, I'm actually once a week trying to mix in some strides. I've done that at least once a week, each week this month, and quite honestly, it hasn't messed up my MAF training. It hasn't messed up my average heart rate for those particular runs. But it's allowed me to get a little bit of work on just working on that faster turnover, get some pickups in there. So essentially on that run, I run to the track, which is about 2.5 miles from here. I do a lap around the track, and then I do 8 to 10 strides the length of the field, with a very slow jog or walk back. Recovery in between. Then I do another lap around the track and run back for roughly a 6 mile to a 1 hour run once a week. The other thing that I just recently, this was the first week that I did it this past week, is, you know, I'm thinking about most of my runs are on the roads, which are great, and I'm increasing that volume. I feel really good about that. But one of the things that I want to do, since I know not all my long runs are going to be able to be on the trails, is mix in there once a week some sort of variable terrain. So I've got a few trail segments fairly close by here, so I can do part road, part trail, some gentle hills, some long straightaways, some switchbacks on one section of trail there. Just a lot of changes that requires you to constantly be thinking, constantly adjusting your stride, constantly adjusting your breathing and your pacing, just to get some of that practice. I want to see as an experiment over the next month, so I'll probably talk about that in the June month review, kind of how that's going. But I just wanted to throw something else in there, that doing it consistently once a week for a few weeks, I can kind of see, am I making any progress? Is there any benefit to throwing that into the mix of my training? And if you've watched my other videos, you know I like to experiment with different things. I like to try different things just to kind of keep it fresh, kind of keep the body adapting, and just really constantly learning, how does my body adapt to different types of training? What can I learn, and how can I grow and improve as a runner? And I would encourage you as well. And in fact, that is really my question of the week for this video, is what types of things are you throwing into the mix for your training right now, so that you can kind of gauge how your body responds, see if there's any training benefit that you can get from it. I'd love to hear your ideas. Extra points, which is actually a thumbs up. Maybe I'll give you a little heart if you have one of great creativity that maybe makes us laugh, chuckle, or even get excited, maybe even adopt it into our own running plans. But I just love to hear what other people are out there doing. So if you're trying something and you're willing to share that with us, please share that down in the comments, and we'll respond back to you. One of the other things that I'm introducing into my training starting this past week as well is, now that I've kind of got this 6 days down, and I think I'm adjusting to the 40 miles, and I kind of worked my way to that 40 to 45 mile mark over the course of the next month. I also want to try to take one of my runs in the middle of the week and add a mile or two with it, just to lengthen it out a little bit longer during the week. That'll help with the volume, but it'll also just kind of help break things up and get a little bit more of those longer runs on the legs. So that's something that I'm experimenting with and trying as well. In my May MAF test, I averaged 2 seconds per mile faster than my previous best test, so I have made minimal gains during this transition. I haven't gone backwards since transitioning from 80/20 to full 100% MAF, which is great, and I feel good about that. But one of the other things that I've noticed as another measure that just kind of came to me when I saw it is, I've already seen a few mile splits during some of my runs at MAF effort or MAF target heart rate or lower. I've actually seen some sub 9-minute mile splits. Again, any given day I could probably go out there and bust out a whole bunch of those, but training at that targeted MAF range, I've been around that 9.5. I've been seeing myself more consistently getting to the 9:20, 9-teens, and I've actually seen a few mile splits, and in fact in one run I saw 2 back-to-back miles that were sub 9 minutes, which was extremely encouraging. That just helps me to see that this training approach does work. I am improving as a runner without having to go out and hammer away, but just trusting the process and allowing my body to adapt as I expand my training volume. One of the other things that I did this past month, just as a side note, is I've been running a lot of my long runs and a couple of my runs during the week in my Hoka Clifton 7s, which have gone over the 500 mile mark, and they are shot. And I have ordered some new, more cushiony shoes for my longer runs. I ordered some Asics Nova Blast 2s that are supposed to come the middle of June. However, I did just get a notice that they are being delayed, and I won't get those until early July. So I'm a little bummed by that. I'm gonna have to get creative with some of the shoes that I have, because the Hokas really are shot. And as much as I enjoyed them, I may come back and try them again. But I just found for me that there's not a whole lot of outsole rubber on the bottom of those, and I just felt like I burned through that awfully quick. And I've been just shaving that foam cushioning for a while now, and I just like to know that I got some rubber under my foot there. So continue to experiment, continue to try some different shoes, and really see what works. I'm still enjoying my Saucony rides that I'm running with. They're a little stiff and a little hard for those long runs, but for these daily trainers throughout the week, they're working just great. And so again, I just want to thank all of you for checking out my channel. If you found this interesting, consider giving me a like, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and being a part of the Keep Running with BK community, and check out some of my other videos. And as always, I look forward to you coming back, and until then, stay safe, train smart, enjoy your summer, and keep running.